Welcome to Shifting Mindsets Around Berlin. In this 10-minute episode, we will be walking around Berlin while explaining how to transition from the anthropogenic mindset to the bioinspiration one. The anthropogenic mindset is the worldview that has shaped most of modern society. It places humans at the center of everything and sees nature as a resource, something to extract from, to manage, and to control. This becomes, of course, problematic because its short-term success completely undermines long-term survival. If it works really well for expansion, it completely fails for regeneration. Berlin is ready for a new story. This is where the bioinspiration mindset begins. Humans are not above nature, but a part of nature. Nature is not seen as a resource, but as a teacher. It takes the millions of years of Earth's evolution as a library of design strategies that already work efficiently, circularly, and resiliently, grounded in principles like interdependence, regeneration, and adaptation. And why is this mindset better suited for our times, you may ask? If the anthropocentric mindset brought us to the edge of the planetary boundaries, of course, the Bioinspiration one could offer us a way back into balance. If Berlin adopted this mindset, it could become the next prototype city for the future, with permaculture farms that fuel the whole city, and of course, buildings with biomimetic design, and so on. However, this implementation of mindset would come with some challenges, as of course it would clash with the main institutions built for power and control.
Every transformation begins with remembering how we got here. We became not so long ago the dominant force shaping Earth's system, often without fully understanding the consequences. And the origin of this new mindset, the ecocentric mindset, is indeed not so far away from that period. It began when some thinkers started to question that very foundation of our relationship with nature. In 1949, the ecologist Aldo Leopold wrote A Sand County of Almanac, where he proposed a land ethic. He said that humans are not conquerors of the land, but members of a greater community that includes soil, water, plants, and animals. That idea marked the birth of a worldview where nature has value not because it serves us, but because it exists.
A few decades later, in the 1970s and 80s, philosophers like Arne Naess took that further through what we called deep ecology, a movement that asked us not just to protect nature, but to belong to it. It wasn't about managing ecosystems, it was about seeing ourselves within them. From there, ecocentrism began to take form in practice, in land use guided by ecosystems health, in community models inspired by forests and coral reefs, and in design approaches like biomimicry, where we ask, what would nature do? Today, this mindset is expanding. Once confined to philosophy and activism, it now shapes business, architecture, and policy. We hear it in terms like nature-based solutions and living system thinking. It's becoming a guiding principle for those who understand that sustainability is not about control, it's about co-creation. But actually, this mindset shift, from the anthropogenic to the bio-inspired, is not really new. It's more like remembering an ancient intelligence we once had. Learning once again to ask nature not what can we take from you, but how would you solve the system? And to treat her as a respectful being, not merely as a giver of resources.
At the heart of bioinspiration is a change in attitude. The bio-inspired mindset starts with humility, a recognition that we are part of nature, not apart from it. Attitudes of this mindset interrelate as a feedback system, with the starting point as humility. Once we admit that we don't dominate nature, we open space for curiosity. As we learn how energy, matter, and life interact, systems thinking now reveals the need for cooperation. All elements affect each other, so cooperation is survival. And in turn, the cooperation that exists fosters adaptability. Adaptability produces resilience, wherein the system can recover and evolve. Regeneration is the outcome and the new starting point. All these systems thrive in this feedback loop and not as a hierarchy. As attitudes shift, meanings shift too. Progress becomes balance and growth becomes renewal. Here at Humboldt University's physics department, the facade is alive with vegetation. In summer, they shade and cool, and in winters, as you can see here, they fall away, letting sunlight warm the building again. The surface tells a quiet story of cooperation between material and climate. This is not just decor but adaptation, just as nature intends. These materials are built with environment, not against it.
The competencies we need are no longer extractive. They are all about ecological literacy, observation, collaboration, and constant adaptation. The building becomes an organism of sorts, adapting, breathing, and cooling. As you can see here, this structure is trapping heat and keeping us warm. And this is a physics department that doesn't just study natural laws but lives by them.
We talk about the logic of practice, we're really talking about how our inner mindset and our outer social structures continuously shape one another. In the anthropogenic mindset, the psychology starts with a sense of separation, the belief that humans stand above nature, entitled to control it. That inner narrative fuels behaviors focused on domination, extraction, and short-term gain. Socially, our systems mirror and reinforce that worldview. Economies are built on consumption and endless growth, and institutions reward productivity, profit, and efficiency over ecological balance. Together, these forces create a destructive feedback loop. The more we consume, the more the growth is justified, and the more the mindset of human over nature becomes normalized. But there's another loop, a regenerative one. In a bio-inspired mindset, psychology shifts towards humility, empathy, and interconnection. We begin to see ourselves as participants in nature, not as masters of it. And when communities adopt regenerative design, circular systems, and cooperation, those structures reinforce that mindset. As people experience balance and mutual flourishing, their respect for natural systems deepens. Here, we can see these two loops visualized. The top loop illustrates the anthropogenic logic of practice. It starts with psychology, the mindset of separation and control, and moves into the sociological structures that normalize extraction and endless growth. That loop circles back on itself. The systems we build reinforce the very mindset that created them, creating a destructive feedback loop. The second loop shows the alternative, the bio-inspired logic of practice. Here, the inner mindset begins with empathy and interconnection and leads into social structures based on regeneration, circular design, and cooperation. This loop also reinforces itself, but in a positive way. Regenerative systems deepen ecological awareness, which in turn strengthen regenerative choices.
Nature has 3.8 billion years of research and development. It designs efficiently, regeneratively, and beautifully. The question is, how can we live and design like that?
For a question, we need to ask what living system does this support or erode? We need to think as relational, not just as useful.
Second, rebuild your connection with nature with having tiny daily habits such as 10-minute nature walk, noticing one beautiful non-human each day. Practice gratitude to nature. Third, let the transformation be visible and shared. Join or start a micro challenge, car-free day, neighborhood cleanup. 4. Align self-care with earth care. Pick routines that help both your well-being and biosphere, like active travel, nature breaks, plant-forward meals, restorative green time.
We need to start with a science-based target, not slogans. We need biocheck this. We need to ask, does the system regenerate? Does it save ecosystem? Does it self-heal? We need to see biodiversity like a revenue. We need to produce for impact, not just for price. We need to run every investment through avoid, reduce, reuse, and regenerate. In industry and in architecture, we need to build like nature, adaptive and circular. Institute of Physics in Humboldt University shows us how we can ground the scientific ideas in real life. And this is how we can do it.
Nature is not something that is separate from us. We are one. We have to live like one.